Warrior, welcome. It is January 5th, 2025. It is Sunday afternoon where I am in New York City, but welcome wherever you may be tuning in from. Listen, we're going to start with this. I have no shame about any of this. My birthday is coming up on January 19th, and I want the Warriors channel to get into the next realm, get onto the new highway of algorithms here on YouTube. So I need everybody to subscribe. Check if you are unsubscribed. If you're watching and not subscribed, please do that because we want to hit the 10,000 subscriber mark and we're almost there. So please, I'm urging all of you because it'll put us into a whole new category. And this way, more information will be getting out into the public. And that is our goal in 2025, providing the public with information they need to know and probably are not hearing on any other platforms. First, we're going to do a check-in, a 5x5. Can everybody hear me? Let's go. Somebody check in with me so I know that I am coming in loud and clear. You know, there's a little bit of a lag here with the technology, so it takes a minute to come in. But in the meantime, I want to start with, it may be only January 5th, but we have to remain vigilant 24/7, 365, including a lot of people are relaxing, resting a little bit on their laurels, thinking the new administration will come in and all of our problems will be solved. Well, I am here to say, I agree with a lot of that, but in the meantime, there is a lot of work to be done. So we have to become that warrior in our own home and community. And I have to talk about, why we have to remain vigilant. And I'm going to point out a few headlines, a few stories about all of this. First of all, why aren't we talking about? And I'm very careful with words here, so I'll skirt around some things. I think you can read between the lines. For instance, every 10 minutes, a woman, a girl, is fatally harmed in America and across the globe. And this is from a family member or an intimate partner, so a boyfriend or a husband. So why aren't we talking more about that? Why is it that Reen Asalem, who is the special rapporteur for the UN, she is an outside party brought in, and her job is to create studies and deep dive into violence against women and girls. She totally bucked to the everything with the UN because I am not much of a supporter of theirs. We'll leave that for another program. And she came out with a scathing report how women and girls across the US, the globe, are met with violence and all of these other things and fatally being harmed. And why aren't we talking more about that? Why is that allowed? And then, we have the biggest human trafficking operation, in my opinion, in the world, complicit with the Biden-Harris administration, allowed, working with cartels, again, in my opinion. And this was allowed to go on for years. Why? So we have so many things that we have to keep an eye on and remain vigilant because it'll take a lot of work, a lot of elbow grease to clean all of this up. So I say buckle up. And then I was just reading about a story, a little 5-year-old. The story is out of Palm Beach, Florida, I believe. And an illegal alien is accused of attacking her. Now, I have to ask myself, who, according to the story I read, was working in the family home for about a year. Number one, I'm sorry, why are you hiring an illegal alien? It is proven, and this is where a lot of people fight with me. Democrats and Republicans alike both like cheap labor. I'm repeating myself, alike and both, but I want to drive this home. They like cheap labor. We had reports of people picking kids up on the border, saying, okay, I need 10 kids for my ranch. I need 15 kids for my automotive plant. Again, both parties like cheap labor. All people like cheap labor. So why is all of this? Why was it allowed? And why aren't we talking about it more? I don't see any comments in the comment section. Come on, somebody weigh in there. I also want to say this 5-year-old, I'm sorry, but how was she alone in the house with this illegal alien, with this stranger, with this person? Were the parents around? Was there a babysitter, a nanny type around? How was this able? I mean, it's alleged, the story, but how is all this allowed to happen? So we have to ask ourselves, what is going on here? And then I also want to bring something out that my mind is thinking about. It was announced yesterday that Tim Cook, CEO of Apple, has personally given the Trump inauguration $1 million. So that's right out of his own pocket. He said the company will not be contributing to the inauguration. Did you know that Apple is the biggest taxpayer in the US and also across the globe in the world? So therefore, I think we can say Apple, big tech, major player, one of the biggest. I'm very disturbed. The Wall Street Journal covered it. There was a recent study done by great colleagues of ours, Heat Initiative, along with concerned parents, a parents group they work with. And the study was they went into the Apple App Store. Now, this is something we all use frequently, the kids use. And also coming out of the holidays, many parents, family members bought devices for their kids or bought games for their kids or bought them apps, whatever they were doing. And you're supposed to be trusting, according to Tim Cook. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but these are his words, that the Apple App Store ratings are appropriate. So this study was done specifically targeting 4-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 12-year-olds, what was rated for them on these apps. And it was a 24-hour study. And the study came up with 200 within 24 hours. 200 apps are inappropriate. Apps kids usually search for are things like beauty, internet access, eating, gaming. Those are top ones, sports, and 200 of them in just a 24-hour period. Things that are very risky, things that are inappropriate for kids, things that are downright harmful. So I'm thinking, I hope this $1 million, because it seems big tech, doesn't seem, it is. Big tech is just cozying up to what I'm calling now the cool kids who are coming to Washington. Doesn't it seem like this is what's happening? Because all of these big tech people are just flocking. As a matter of fact, Tim Cook had dinner with President Trump last month in Mar-a-Lago. But I ask and I beg that we must continue the child safety work on all of these big tech platforms, because as you know, and I know, everybody knows, they are not doing their jobs. And you know, they're just doing what they're doing, making money, but it has become so criminal. It has become, in my opinion, so we have the studies, so overwhelmed with predators who are winning that something must be done. And we're going to put our full everything into working with the administration to make changes, to lift voices, to have new kinds of strategies, brainstorming ideas that can make a difference, because frankly, nothing has worked. And I say this to people and it's met with blank stares, but that's the truth. Nothing has worked. So when something doesn't work, what do? You start from the beginning. You start all over. You create new ways. Why, after all these genius big tech people, I'm sure we could find and figure out a way to protect kids somehow, some way. So here's the other thing. I really hope that this money that big tech, not only Tim Cook from Apple, others are pouring into the Trump administration, the inauguration in particular, does not sway anybody, does not sidetrack anything, because we just started the other day, Friday, as a matter of fact, the swearing in Congress, the 119th Congress. We must continue the work somehow, some way, and banning is never the answer. We do not support banning at all. We support figuring out strategies that will make a difference for safety, everybody working together, partnerships. Banning does not work. And I get a great, a little bit of a smirk, I'll say. You know, everybody jumped on TikTok from China, ByteDance, the company, ban it, throw it out. I understand fairly recently, members of Congress, Senate are not allowed to be using TikTok. Well, they've been using it for the last several years. I don't know, because of the Chinese influence. A little too late, frankly. But, you know, we would have to, banning TikTok is not the answer. You would have to ban, in their words, not mine, every single platform, every app, everything. It is not just TikTok. So we have to get away from just, attacking something like a TikTok. And I'm a great believer in that. I take a lot of flack for it, but we have to figure out better ways. And I frankly say, like, where has everybody been? Like, we're just coming to these conclusions now. Well, better late than never, but we must. This is the administration to get the job done, to get the work done, to get new people in there, new ideas, new everything, but it must continue the next 4 years. We cannot let our guards down at all, because these criminals are winning. Predators are winning. And the focus will be immediately with the open borders and getting control of that. But we have to be able to do all of this at the same time. There's also, I talked to you, and I hope to be able to interview him soon. Dad, Frank Gervasi from Long Island. And there was a very big push due to him and the community from Patchogue, Long Island, that his 14-year-old daughter, Emma Ray, disappeared on December 9th. She left the family home without shoes or a coat to go out to the family truck. She said she was retrieving something, and she disappeared. December 9th. So we're talking about close to a month. Well, praise the Lord, and praise all of you warriors out there who never let up, who came together, who contacted me, who networks were dispersed, who went full force into looking for her, for providing tips. It helped. Dad was providing a $10,000 reward. Dad was boots on the ground with his network, really online, spreading coverage of this. And the good news is that Emma Ray was found. And so we won't go into particulars right now, but I'd like to talk to Frank. And I want to talk to Frank not because I want to, like other media platforms will do, exploit him, right? Because we have these stories, they think they'll get clicks and likes, and then it'll disappear. I want to talk to Dad Frank because he was a relentless warrior. He actually describes himself as a spirited warrior. So right there, we have something in common. And I want to express to everybody how we have to be on top of our children, forget how it used to be, forget how it was last year, last month. We have to be that warrior. So I want to take the angle of really showcasing him and praising him for being relentless on his own and his warrior community in stopping at nothing. And a great big shout out to the woman who came forward, who gave Frank the tip that Emma Ray was on a boat about 13 miles, I believe, from her home in Long Island. And Frank went there and rescued her, and law enforcement. But there's a case pending right now. But I want Frank, this is the kind of action we need. I don't care what goes on in your home, what kind of problems you have. The focus has to be on the kids. The teens are future adults. Because I can tell you right now, we're in trouble. The kids are in trouble. The teens are in trouble. So Frank will be a wonderful voice. We hope to speak to him soon, and I can share how he actually did this, because this is what we need to protect our kids. Because remember, there's a war on for our children. That is basically it. What is this war? The war is there's a lot of money to be made from kids, whether it's online predation, whether it is actual trafficking. Remember, we have rebranded it here at the Warriors slavery, because it's really enslavement. And it's all about money, money, money. Most traffickers, pimps, they're not in it for themselves. They're in it to sell that person to somebody else and make the money. That's what it's about. And a reminder, something we don't talk about because it's ugly and dark, so nobody, again, wants to talk about it, is that most trafficking, this is hard to take, is done by a family member. In New York State, for instance, last study was about 64% traffics their own daughter or son, exploits their own wife or sister. Culturally, I've spoken with victims, survivors who say, well, my mom went through this, my grandma went through this. It's just an accepted form of everything. So that's a tough one. We're going to have to break through, but we have to understand families are doing this to their own. So we've got to break through that and talk about all of this. That is the truth. It's not the stranger, pretty much. So we have to really be on top of all this. Do any of you know about the Yahoo Boys? But before we get into that, let me address some comments. Edie, welcome. Edie's one of our top warriors at all times. Thank you, Edie. Please be kind and hit the like button for Mrs. L on your way in, please. I'm going to remind you again, because I do have no shame, and my birthday is coming up. And all I want for my birthday are people to subscribe to this Warriors channel so I can hit 10,000 and then we can go into onto the new YouTube highway where our information will be shared much more. So please subscribe. I mean, it's free. I don't get it, but please do it because I don't mind telling you and begging you. Anyway, enough about me. And let's see what we have. We have K2ZMM. What? My birthday is January 19th? Well, then we are birthday twins. Happy birthday, fellow Capricorn. I can't wait. It's really, I'm pretty low key about my birthday. I really don't do much, but I'll do it for the warriors. I'll ask you to subscribe. I'll ask you to volunteer. I'll ask you to donate. I'll ask you to do anything in your power to share our information. That's what I want for my birthday more than anything. I have all I need. I have the most fantastic husband in the world, the best, a saint, the greatest. I have a fantastic family, friends. I don't need any material possessions in life. I've got it all. I'm a very, very lucky warrior. So anyway, happy birthday to you, K2ZMM, birthday twin. And I see Lionel Nation. Thank you. Subscribe. And like. Metrics are critical in getting out the word. We thank you in advance. Yes, we thank you. I can never thank you enough for being here, for listening, for following, for sharing, all you do. Let's see. There's Carla. Let me get down here. No longer cheap labor. We lie in Texas, and the illegal labor force is no longer cheap. Okay. A reminder, where are those reported over 500,000 illegal alien unaccompanied minors somewhere in our country? Remember what we say at the Warriors, if that's the number reported, we know the number's higher. Perhaps it could be close to 1 million children. We don't know. They are somewhere. Are they working in factories? We know a lot are. Lumber yards, domestic environments, restaurants, bars even. And that reminds me, nobody's even covering last year when 14 different states lowered the standards for the ages of, I've got to get back on this one and see what's going on, especially in Washington, where they changed the child labor laws, where, for instance, a child can work in a bar age 14, 15, 16 in certain states. And when I questioned this, I was told, well, I said, who's going to be watching in some remote area in a bar? Well, they can't prepare the liquor. They can serve the liquor. I said, what? I said, but what about the kind of people that hang out in bars and restaurants? And what if somebody's overserved and that puts the child in a dangerous situation? Well, the adult working at the bar or restaurant, this is what I was told, will keep an eye on the teen. Now, you know and I know that's not happening, right? So I've got to get back on that one because 14 different states, that's a lot of states to change child labor laws and we don't even know about it. Also extending the daily, Monday through Friday, when most kids are in traditional schools, they can work till 10 or 11 at night. So it's more hours during the weekend. So perhaps this was all in conjunction. This is me just saying this. I don't know. I did bring this up. Again, met with stares, blank looks. Perhaps this was all enacted to absorb all of these unaccompanied minors in our country so they could be the workforce. Let's think about that one. Edie, I see you're here. I know it's a little bit of a lag with the comments. I get so busy talking, I didn't get to the comments right away. Drummers against IK. It looks like that's what it is. I got my glasses on. If I said it wrong, I'm sorry. Drummers against ITK. Okay. Thanks, Lynn, for all your work. It is important. It is beyond important. Thank you for your comment. It is critical. It is crucial. This is the #1 crime, according to my sources, in America right now. This exploitation, this slavery, especially of children. And why people aren't in the streets screaming about this, why every parent and grandparent can't get on board, you have to. It has to somehow, some way seep into your life and protect the kids. And getting back to the story, and God bless Frank in Long Island, and he found Emma Ray, 14 years old. You know, most kids are not found. That's the brutal, hard truth of all of this. Normally, law enforcement will say the first 48 hours are the most crucial. And also, if people have any kind of means and can hire private investigators, that gives them a leg up on all of this finding kids too. Most people can't do that. What about the poor, vulnerable single mom working 2 or 3 jobs? and she'll go to the police, and they'll say, well, we have to wait 24 hours, and she or he could be a runaway. We have to change all of that. Every child missing at any time should be considered an emergency situation, right? Because somebody who takes a child or exploits them or lures them, they usually, now Emma Ray, they were very lucky, I want to say, because she was found 13 miles or so away. Normally, they right away take them to another state. They get them out, right? They disorient everybody looking. If anybody's looking, they disorient the law enforcement. They disorient the person, child taken or teen taken. I've spoken with survivors. They just didn't know they were put in a car. They're psychologically, you have to understand, they're not thinking straight. They're psychologically scared. They don't even know where they are, kind of thing. I had one case of somebody when I first started, and she, smartly enough, every motel and hotel she was forced into all along America. She was picked up at Kennedy Airport, thought she was coming here from another place to work in the hospitality business, so hotel business. They told her, okay, when you arrive, we're sending a driver for you who will bring you into Midtown Manhattan. And so she meets the person who has the sign with her name. She gets in the car, and she realized after about 2 hours, she was smart enough, and she was an adult, like young, but still over 18. She said, oh, New York City's closer to Kennedy Airport than this. Where are we going? She started questioning the driver, and she was told, shut up, don't say anything. And I also forgot to tell you, when she was picked up, the driver had said, okay, I'm told I should hold all of your documentation so we keep it organized, and blah, blah, blah. So she handed over a very common ploy that's used all the time. She handed over all of her documentation, so she had nothing on her. And she was thrown into several years and did not speak English, or really barely spoke English, I should say. And she was very smart because she collected as many matchbooks as she could grab from, these are the days where you could smoke in hotel rooms and all that. So we're going back a little bit, or bars, wherever there was a matchbook or something, she would take it and hide it. And so she had this collection kind of thing. A long story short, she's a wonderful advocate these days. She speaks openly and honestly to young women and girls about how easy it is to get exploited. And this is what we have to talk about. It's been happening, but in the last decade, it has escalated beyond anything I can even tell you. Let's see. I don't want to miss anything. K2ZMM. I'm sure an app could be created to evaluate these apps in some way for a certain set of criteria. Well, first of all, that's a good idea. There is the technology. People who work in tech, I don't think they'll go on the record to say this. There's technology to do all of this. They're not enacting it. They're not using it. Why is that? Why is the Apple App Store allowed to put out false, basically, advertising for saying something is safe for a 4-year-old? And why is it up to the parents to burden all this responsibility when parents have so much, and guardians these days, so much to deal with? Why is it up to, I mean, we need transparency. Why isn't Tim Cook held accountable? Now, the HEAT Initiative is doing wonderful things, showing up at Apple stores, bringing parents together whose children have been harmed from a lot of these dangerous algorithms and devices. But why is it just allowed to go? Why can't somebody say, oh, I don't know, maybe Congress, full transparency, here's the technology, make your apps up to standards or something like that? Why? When did our children become this chattel that everybody could make a buck off of? So I'm not feeling good about, I understand how politics work. I understand how strategies work, damage control. I get the whole thing. Why are 200 plus risky apps allowed in the Apple App Store? Those just in a 24-hour period that are harmful to children. Why isn't it shut down? So I really hope this $1 million and the dinners at Mar-a-Lago and everybody floating in there, getting their 2 cents in and getting on board and now liking President Trump, and they want to work with him and collaborate. The first piece of collaboration is something like this: clean up the App Store. I mean, what do you think? I'd like to know your thoughts on that. Seems like an easy fix to me. We could be doing it right now. Clean up the App Store. Then we'll have further conversations about other collaboration. Hillbilly says we need to enforce the laws that are on the books. Absolutely right, Hillbilly. We do have a lot of laws on the books. Guess what? Nobody enforces them. It is shocking. And we at the Warriors focus on what is happening in America. I really want to focus on our own homes, and towns, and cities, and rural areas, our kids, and empower them, right? But that story coming out of the UK, unbelievable. I'll leave it up to all of you to do a little research. What's been going on for decades, the abuse of children and girls. And then, of course, the UK turns around and says it's being misinterpreted. I don't think so. When you've got hundreds of thousands of kids involved and all, what is breaking out. K2ZMM. My first name is Russ. Okay, my first name is Lynn. That's good to know. Tammy Roseberry. Awesome for her to document where she was taken. God bless her. Yes, Tammy. And something as horrible as it is, I want to always point out, because if one teen hears this, or one mom who says it to her, like, if you're ever taken or brought somewhere, look for a sign, look for something you can grab onto, because you're in a panic mode, right? You're being watched every second. You may be locked up. So little tidbits of information like that, we have to, unfortunately, ingrain in our children. This is what's going on, age appropriate, right? But I'm sorry, this is not to be negative, because there's a lot of hope going on. Because look, we're here today talking about all this. We've got the Warriors channel. We've got wonderful initiatives happening. I can't wait to be back in Washington and really spreading my voice and my ideas and my strategies. We're already doing things behind the scenes that you'll hear about. And it's going to be great, because it is being looked at, it is being accepted. It's being okay. You have a voice at the table. Tammy says, agree, all app stores. Simplest thing. President Trump, please tell Tim Cook, first piece of business, we are going to clean up that app store, Timmy, or else. Just leave it at that. Carla, the cooking CEO. Carla, you are a tremendous warrior. I am humbled. I am honored. I want to thank you. Carla writes, Mrs. L, we must demand that the 158 Democrats who voted to release the illegal number that commits crimes and crimes against women and children be known by their constituents. We must, and I'm going to point something out that is also, Carla, not very well liked, perhaps. And that is, there are also Republicans that must be called out. Remember, all of this abuse of children belongs to no political party. It is equal opportunity. You have to remember, there's a lot of talk in Congress, a lot of good people working there, a lot of bipartisan bills, safety for kids. But to see the speaker, and I know he was just reelected, but I was very upset that he couldn't during the lame duck Congress, a couple of weeks ago. And I understand everybody supports him. President Trump supports him. All he had to do is put the Kids Online Safety Act, put it to a vote. It was so watered down, including the involvement 1 week before from Elon Musk of watering it down to basically say, big tech, you take more responsibility for these dangerous algorithms. You have a duty of care, because parents can't handle everything. It's everything we talk about here on the Warriors. And he couldn't bring it to a vote. Now, why do you think that is? I can't, because people keep asking me, and I said, I don't know. Why couldn't he do that? This bill, 91-3 last July in the Senate, tremendous support, and really changed pretty drastically from the beginning of how the bill was written almost 4 years ago to now. I'm going to say it again, so watered down, not invading anybody's privacy, putting the burden on big tech. For instance, I just told you about Tim Cook. Tim Cook, clean up that app store. Why are you saying a 4-year-old can be on this when clearly there's material on here that should not be for a 4-year-old or a 9-year-old. Remember, they focused the HEAT initiative and the parents on 4, 9, and 12. So we've got that going on. But thank you, Carla. We have to keep talking about this as a main issue in 2025. We have to just keep saying our children are not for sale. We are not allowing this. We as constituents, remember, they work for us. But I always say the same thing. Again, not popular. When people leave Congress, they want to work on boards. They want to work on boards of banks. And the current big hot one is, a tech company. They go where the money is. So they may not want to just cross that line and really get the job done and cast a little shadow on their future. But that's me thinking something like that. But we're very enthusiastic about 2025. We're very happy. What we also have to do is we've got to get into the schools and different things. These are very simplistic. We have to demand that, yes, laws be enforced. Because I talk to judges and people in law, and all of this falls on the bottom of the totem pole because they're so busy doing everything else. This is crime, number one crime in America. I'm going to say bigger than drugs, I'm saying. Why we're allowing. Remember what I always tell you, the cartels are working in all 50 states. They've been allowed. Come on in and abuse us, steal from us, and everything else, harm us. And also, look at that little 5-year-old girl I just told you about from Florida. What was that story all about? And then we have the cartels paying our American kids in the middle and high schools to deal their dirty drugs and also to traffic their peers. Because one of their main businesses is the trafficking of humans, drugs, weapons. We don't talk about the weapons too much, but we've got large amounts of weapons brought into this country in all the states. What are they going to do with all those weapons? Edie says, I've been thinking about your slogan, community creates change. There's absolutely something that anyone can do. Thank you, Edie, for reminding me about that. Yes, our hashtag is community creates change. As I/we fight in Washington. Again, because you have to do that. You got to make your voice heard. I've got to bring things to the table. I'm tired of the talk. It's bad. It's horrible. It's escalating. We all know, each and every one of us knows this already. We need change. We need solutions. We need those resources. I mean, after all, we just gave $2.5 billion the other day to Ukraine. Why aren't we giving this to good vetted groups, organizations doing the work that need to build housing, resources for our victims and survivors, and also some of that $2.5 billion to intervention, prevention, so new kids or any people don't get involved, because it's vulnerable people. And when I say vulnerable, it can be you're from a rich family, you're from a poor family, a vulnerable, and we have a lot of vulnerability. So we're going to talk on our next live stream. We definitely have this mental health problem in our country. That is not being addressed yet again. We're giving billions to all these other countries. I want these monies spent in the United States, or a large portion of them. We call ourselves the greatest nation in the world. I don't like to say this. I'm a proud American. What has been going on? We're abusing our people, and we're allowing others to come in and abuse us. It's got to stop, and it's going to begin to stop in 2025. So again, Edie's right. Everybody, even if you just share this live stream, or you go on, everything's named Lynn's Warriors. I made it easy for you. If you go on and just share a fact on your platforms, leverage the internet for good, or if you just do something in your community. It doesn't have to be a lot. I'm not asking you, forming nonprofits and organizations. I'm asking you to join us. I'm asking you can always write to me, lynn@lynnswarriors.org, if I can direct you in any way. But let's keep up with all of this. We've got 15 days into the new administration. We're going to do it. We have to put it out there into the universe. We are going to create change, because indeed, community creates change. I want to thank all of you for joining me today. I hope to be doing many more live streams, maybe get a regular hour going. It's a little tough with the work we do, because sometimes we plan things and then we get called out onto the road, so to speak. But I want to come up in the new year with maybe a more, plan, like 5 o'clock every day or 9 o'clock at night, something like that. Carla, the cooking CEO, says both and all sides turn a blind eye in this issue. You're correct about that. And that is why we're going to keep speaking up. We're going to keep speaking out. We're going to have resources for you. Be very careful. I leave you with this. If you're using the Apple App Store and you have children around you, grandchildren, whatever, understand you cannot rely on these ratings. You have to do the research yourself. And I always give out one of our great colleagues because he's done a lot of work for us as far as, so we don't have to do it. And people like easy lifting, right? ProtectYoungEyes.com. Our friend Chris McKenna, ProtectYoungEyes.com. He has on his website, iPhone, iPad, Roblox, Discord, everything you want to know. Dangers, pros, cons, how to put guardrails up. You can write to him as well. He's got his email on there and will help you. So you have no excuse, right? And those are the kind of things we need passed along to your friends and family. So you don't have to remember YouTube. You can look up anything and have a tutorial, but there's also people who've done it. We do it at the Warriors. Chris McKenna, ProtectYoungEyes.com does it for you. Great information on a daily basis so you know what's going on. Do not depend on the Apple App Store. I'm here to say that. You'll be hearing more from the Warriors and the HEAT Initiative about all of this. Let's pray and hope President Trump will straighten out that Tim Cook real fast and tell him to clean up that store, because I'm on board to help with the cleaning. And I leave you with thanking you for joining me on a Sunday. And to Carla, the cooking CEO, we adore you. Thank you so much. You're always such a great support and always the first one there. Thank you very much. And to Edie and to everybody else, think about all of this. Now, remember, what do I always tell you? Each and every day. Well, first you got to follow Lynn at LYNN'sWarriors.org. I'm gonna hit you up again about subscribing, because for my birthday's 2 weeks from today. I want to hit that 10,000 mark because I need to get us into the next lane in the YouTube highway to get the information out. That 10,000 mark makes the tremendous amount of difference. So I'm in the 9,000s. I'm getting there, but I need your help. So thank you. And again, to all of you out there, be kind to each other, love one another, and always follow the Warriors. Remember, community does indeed create change. Thanks for joining us today. Remember, each and every day when you wake up, go out and be a warrior.